Should you wait to buy property in Toronto and the GTA? Is it time to just let everything cool down? Well, in this video, I'm gonna cover off that question because it seems to be the number one question I keep getting asked. So we're gonna cover off what's happening in the marketplace, and then I'm gonna give you my opinion on whether or not you should wait. And make sure you stay until the end because I'm also gonna share with you what I'm doing personally as an investor. So let's get to it. Hi everybody, my name is Connie Sarvanandan and I'm a real estate agent and investor here in Toronto and the GTA. I am an active real estate investor, so I've already bought a property in 2022. So when I give you advice, it's not just from an agent standpoint, but it's actually from an investor standpoint as well. So what's happening in the real estate market right now that a lot of buyers are wondering whether or not they should wait to buy? Let's look at the top ones. So I see three major areas that is affecting the market overall right now when it comes to real estate. The first one is buyer fatigue. It's been a crazy couple of years when it comes to real estate. I mean, the Toronto market has been active for the last 20 years, but the last 2 years with COVID and everything else, it's just been crazy. And January and February were probably the peak of all of that activity. And a lot of buyers are getting fatigued. So what does that mean? It means that buyers are just tired. They're just tired of bidding and losing. They're just tired of everything that was happening. So what we are starting to see now is we're seeing less showings, less offers, none of the crazy overbidding that's been going on. There are certain pockets within Toronto and outside of Toronto that you're seeing price drops. Now, the price drops are mainly from the high of February. They're not like dropping significantly beyond 2021 or anything like that, but definitely February was the peak and you're seeing some price drops from there. But not across the board. There's some definitely markets within Toronto that, the pricing isn't dropping. It's just not going crazy like it was before. So overall, buyers have this fatigue, which is slowing down some of the activity. You're not having the craziness that we had at the beginning of the year. The second thing that's happening is you have government policies. So the Canadian government had their budget last week and they announced a whole bunch of policies where they're trying to calm down the real estate market. And I've done a full video on this that we'll link to below that'll go into details on this. But some of the things that they're doing is they're trying to curb speculation, which is people who are just in the real estate market to make money. So, they're trying to ban foreign buyers for a couple of years. They're trying to enforce flipping taxes. So if you own a property for less than a year, you may be subject to capital gains. They're looking at taxing foreign buyers from an Ontario standpoint. They're increasing that amount from 15 to 20%, and it's going across all of Ontario and not just the greater Golden Horseshoe that it was part of before. So all kinds of activities that are trying to slow down the market. They're also doing things like introducing a first-time home buyers savings plan, which will help out home buyers. So lots of things to try and encourage Canadian buyers to buy and discourage non-Canadian buyers to not buy. Whether or not it's going to actually work, there's a lot of debate because I'm not sure how many people that represents and how much it's going to slow it down. And then the third thing is really interest rates. Last week, they just announced that interest rates were going up 50 basis points, and that's the first time they've increased 50 basis points in the last 20 years. So what does that mean? Well, for most of the pandemic, so for over the last 2 years, our overnight rate was at 0.25. And then at the beginning of this year, it went from 0.25 to 0.5. And then they just announced last week that they were doubling it from 0.5 to 1. So basically, this is a big increase, but it's at one. The overnight rate is at 1% right now. which is higher than it's been in the last 2 years, but it's not as high as it was pre-pandemic. And even if it increases for the rest of the year, which is what they're planning, we're still going to be at historic lows when you compare it to other years. It's just not going to be as low as it was in 2020 and 2021. The last thing that we're also seeing, and this happens in spring, is that there's more inventory coming to the marketplace. So that's actually great as well, because with more inventory, it means that you're not competing for the few amount of units that are out there. And I have to say, from a overall standpoint, it's always about supply and demand, right? When you have too little supply, the demand's going to be higher. So the more supply we can get in, the better it's going to be overall. So those are all the reasons why the market's starting to calm down. But the big question is, because of all of these things, does it mean that the prices are going to drop and maybe you should hold off buying? Well, this is my answer. If you're finding value in these videos, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out, and it also lets us know what kind of content we should be making. Also, if you have any questions about Toronto real estate, Toronto and the GTA, feel free to call, text, email, or WhatsApp, and we'll be sure to take care of you. And if you want to just talk with me and ask me questions about real estate, feel free to make a calendar link down below. I love talking about real estate, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So, should you wait to buy real estate right now? And my answer is absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you why. First of all, you can't time the market. I know people who decided 2 years ago that the market was too hot and they sat out. And look what happened in the last 2 years. So right now, yes, there's shifts in the marketplace for sure. And maybe we've hit the peak of pricing, and maybe it'll come down, or maybe it won't grow anymore. But the reality is nobody can predict the market, and people have tried and it doesn't work. For example, the reason why so much has happened in the last 2 years is because of COVID. Nobody knew that COVID was going to affect the real estate market. First of all, nobody knew that COVID was coming, but nobody knew that it was going to have the effect on the real estate market that it did, because all of a sudden we couldn't do anything, and the focus was entirely on our homes and the size of our homes and the need for home offices and the fact that we didn't have to commute anymore, so we could live anywhere. There was so many things that came with COVID and home buying that nobody could have predicted that. And there will always continue to be things like that. So trying to time the market is always a dangerous thing. But that said, you need to be strategic in your buying now, because what you are buying in today is not the same market that was around in January and February or around in 2021. The market is dynamic and changing, and you need to change your strategies to make sure that it makes sense. And when you're looking at pricing even, you need to make sure that what you're looking at for pricing makes sense for you, so that you don't overpay, but you understand exactly what you're paying. So, if you're in a marketplace with a lot of comps that you could look at, then you and your agent should be looking at all the comps, not just comps from January and February, which might be not realistic for long term, or it might be part of the overall picture as you look at comps across the board. So what I'm saying is, be smart about it, be very strategic about it as you're looking, because this marketplace is definitely different than the marketplace we had just 2 months ago. So now is the time to look for opportunities, and I'm going to share some personal stories with you. So as you know, I'm not just a real estate agent, but I'm also an active real estate investor. We closed on a property in January where we bought it in October. It was a property that was actually sitting on the market for 30 days. And when we went to make an offer on it, somebody else did at the same time. But we still got the property and we still got it under asking. We closed in January, renovated it, and now it's renting, and it's been a great investment for us. And it's located in Midtown Toronto at Yonge and Eglinton. And I actually was featured in Toronto Life magazine for that purchase. and I'll link to that article down below. So now in this marketplace, knowing everything that's going on, the last couple of weeks we have made some offers. Now, as investors, we are non-emotional about our buying, and we have very strict budgets because we know what renovation costs are now, especially since renovation costs have gone up about 30% in the last 2 years. So there was 2 properties that we were interested in. Both of them were in fantastic locations. One was in the Annex in Toronto, one was in Davisville Village. Both of them were estate sales, and both of them were being sold by banks. So the interesting thing about when it's sold by a bank is the bank, first of all, lists it for market price. They never list it low. And they also don't do anything to sell the property. So they'll make sure it's clean, but they don't stage it, they don't paint it, they don't like do gardening or anything else. They're not going to spend any money to make the house sell for maximum dollars. So as a result, you know, some of these houses look terrible when you go and see them. Now, if this was January or February, both those properties would have sold no problem. But in this marketplace, people are a lot more hesitant. So this was an opportunity for us. The Annex property ended up selling for asking. That was something that we didn't want to do because the price point was too high. But the person that got it got a great price, even though it was higher than what we would have paid. The Davisville Village property ended up selling lower than asking price. It was still a higher price than what we would have paid. And that was because it had some mold issues. And we've dealt with mold before, and we just felt like the cost to fix the mold put it above a price point that we would pay for. However, we believe a builder bought the property and they're just going to tear it down. So the mold issue wouldn't have been an issue for them. And so they got a great price because they got a great lot in Davisville Village. So my whole point to this story is we have not stopped our search. We're just being a lot more strategic about it, and we're looking for the opportunities. And that's what you should do too. The other thing I will say is if you are a seller thinking about selling in this market, it's still a great market for you because we still have an inventory issue. And so there is definitely, it's still a good time to sell. It may not be the craziness of February, but you're still gonna have a great price point. And if nothing else, this is gonna bring balance overall, which will be good for both buyers and sellers. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I would love to get any comments, good or bad. Please write them below and I'll be sure to get back to you. And if you have any real estate needs here in Toronto or the GTA, feel free to call, text, email, or WhatsApp, and we will be sure to take care of you. I'm also going to post our calendar link. If you want to set up an appointment with me, feel free. I'm happy to discuss any real estate needs that you have. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.